Hello, my name is Dan Taylor, and this is my presentation for EDL 853, Module 10, Case Study. In order to share this case study and what goes on within it, I'm going to start with a summary and establishing key facts. So what has occurred is that following a serious football-related injury, a student was seemingly denied access to their educational programming that they were part of pre-injury at Nottingham High School. When these events occurred, the events causing the potential legal issues stemmed post-injury and upon the student's re-entry to NHS. The incident followed a decision by the school's academic counselor, which seemingly limited the student's educational opportunities in the eyes of the family. Now, who is involved? The student and his family, the building principal, the school counselor, and the family's attorney directly, although there are additional stakeholders. Now, what do those involved have to say? The student's family specifically feels that the student's rights have been violated and that there is a bias in the allocation of resources and opportunities for their student. On the flip side of that, the school counselor, Ms. Guzman, seemingly limited, the student's educational opportunities as she felt that the student's access to the classroom did not follow in accordance with basically federal statutes and guidelines. Now, there are legal and possible ethical issues within this case study. First, legally, there is the possible violation of important federal statutes, including the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. The school district is potentially legally responsible for the lack of adherence to Miguel, the student's, rights as a student at NHS. Ethically, the school's actions in regards to the student's return to school may violate the school's duty to provide equitable educational resources and opportunities through its actions, which it should do for all students, but especially those with injuries. The school's procedures, guidelines, norms, and values may be in contradiction to the rights of the student and his family and their needs. A synthesized summary of this case is that in the aftermath of a serious injury, a student was seemingly denied equitable access to educational learning and opportunities following the decision of a school counselor to remove him from the coursework he was scheduled for. The family was perturbed by this decision and may pursue legal recourse stemming from the school's decision. Now, additional relevant facts of this case. There are multiple people and stakeholders involved with this. There is Dr. Harvey, a superintendent of the district. There is myself, the building principal, the student who has been injured and affected, his name is Miguel Hernandez, as well as his parents who have showed up to previous meetings and have been valued community members. That would be Miss and Mr. Hernandez. There's Ms. Guzman, the school counselor who made the decision to remove Miguel from that course and switch him into a different class. And Mr. Howard Carey, who is the Hernandez family attorney who is threatening possible legal action. The place where this occurred is at the community of Dover at Nottingham High School. And Nottingham High School is the only high school in the community. It serves roughly 3,200 students, and it is a hub of the community. The community loves the school and supports it. But the school itself was initially built in the 1950s, and there may be building access which is not equitable for students facing injury, disability, or otherwise. Nottingham High School serves the entire community, as there are multiple elementary and middle schools, but there is only one high school that serves the community. As far as information on the program, this does involve Nottingham Community High School, which is a public school, and the initial incident stemming that created Miguel's injury was at our athletics football field. But also, of note, of the program is that their school holds mobiles, and generally those are viewed as non-disabled friendly classrooms, as they're not equitably accessible for students such as Miguel. Now, an information review and prioritization of information. There's first the effects on stakeholders. First, the effects on the school itself, including myself, the building principal. The school could face a prolonged litigation process stemming from litigation brought forth by the family. Additionally, the student family could experience hardship, and the student's learning experience could be severely impacted during the process if litigation occurs, and it could also affect the student's post-secondary plans as well. As far as who has a stake in the outcome, all of the stakeholders do hold a stake, but of significance, the school, including the building principal, myself, and the Hernandez family, have the greatest stake in what could occur moving forward, as again, the students and their family feel that they have their rights were violated, and again, too, the building could be exposed to litigation if we've not followed legal statutes. Have all of the relevant stakeholders been notified? At this point, no. Although a majority of stakeholders have been involved in the incident, including myself and the Hernandez family, the district superintendent has not yet been notified, and follow-up with Ms. Guzman has not yet occurred. What else can I learn to make a sound decision is that as building principal, I feel it's important to discuss what has occurred with Ms. Guzman herself and what went into her decision to remove Miguel from his biology class, and also to check to see if other equitable access options are available. I don't know if this was a decision with malice from Ms. Guzman, a potential oversight, or if she just didn't realize what options were available from the school. So I feel like it's very important to talk to Ms. Guzman to gain a fuller understanding of the context of this case. Now, with that, there are a few options moving forward and possible strategies with that. The first option would be no decision and no action. To move forward with a decision made by Ms. Guzman for now, and this could be affected later through additional guidance and also in communication with our district superintendent on what could be best. But with that decision, it would remain firm, and this would again open up possible litigation from the Hernandez family. Option 2 is to create a totally personalized and modified course schedule for the student. In this plan, Miguel would receive an entirely new schedule with course offerings designed to fit his specific needs, adhering to federal statutes such as IDEA and ADA, but possibly alienating the family further as this would upend his current educational progress. Option 3 is to create an alternative learning option for Miguel to be able to retain his biology credit. Now, Miguel would receive the same instruction to receive this biology credit, but it would come with an environment that suits his needs and would provide equitable access to education. Option 4 would be to relieve Ms. Guzman from her position and her role in this decision-making process, and would allow the family and their attorney to dictate the learning plan moving forward. This plan would be designed to appease the Hernandez family's wishes to the highest degree possible and remove a threat of litigation. Now, to evaluate those options, first with option 1. In option 1, by moving forward with this option, I, as the building principal, would be operating with the best intent with my staff member, Ms. Guzman, supporting her initial decision. In supporting Ms. Guzman, this could also engender goodwill amongst the staff, knowing that I went to bat for one of their own and a person that's key and core to NHS's culture. If, in fact, all equitable options have been exhausted, maintaining this position would potentially remove the threat of possible litigation from the family attorney and, again, create goodwill amongst the staff. Cons of this. This could potentially expose the school and school district to potential legal liability, especially remaining staunch in a position that may be incorrect. Legally, ethically, and morally, the decision to forge on could create a toxic environment in the school itself, as Miguel is a popular student, well-liked amongst staff, students alike, but also to the community who has rallied around Miguel and has understood that his situation is traumatic and he's experienced a lot and he's given so much to the Nottingham community. If in fact all equitable options have not been exhausted and I forge on with this choice, the school is operating in bad faith and is not providing Miguel with equitable learning options, and again too, NHS would be outside of legal bounds as mandated by federal law. Option 2, to create a personalized and modified course schedule for this student. The pros of this is that Miguel would receive an entirely redrawn course schedule accompanied with learning options that are tailored to his needs and would fit legal statutes. This option would, again, fulfill the legal obligations of the school to provide Miguel with a school aid option that is without bias and inequality. Again, something that we all want. But there's cons. This option could prove to be financially costly and inefficient for NHS and the district overall, as providing learning resources to a singular student may not be suitable for any other students now or in the future, but could only maybe fit Miguel. Additionally, these changes would not necessarily fit the wishes of the student's family, as they initially requested him to continue on with his educational pathway so long as he could still receive the same access to the classroom. And with this, it could still expose the school to litigation if not followed correctly. Option 3 is to create an alternative learning option for the student to attain his biology credit. This option would fulfill the legal obligation of providing Miguel with an unbiased and equitable learning option that is also less impactful to the school's infrastructure and budget in our school capacity. This would fulfill the family's initial wish of allowing Miguel to continue schooling with equitable access to his classrooms. And this also provides options for the family, as tailoring this experience for a single class could utilize pre-existing structures that the school can offer, and we could still allow input from the family within this option. The cons is that this could engender ill will among staff, as this would go against the guidance of the school counselor, Ms. Guzman. And even with this decision, the family could still possibly continue the litigation process. Option 4 is to relieve Ms. Guzman from her position and the decision-making with that, and allow the family and their attorney to dictate the learning plan moving forward. Pros of this is that this helps to eliminate the possibility of litigation against the school and district from the Hernandez family. Miguel's equitable schooling needs would still be met with the direct input of his family, and this could strengthen community partnerships between the school and community at large. Again, we would be very publicly supporting Miguel in this option. Cons, again, this could also engender ill will amongst the staff, as this upends a lot of things, including Ms. Guzman's position. And although this relieves the school of litigation pressure from the Hernandez family, Ms. Guzman could potentially follow suit with wrongful termination claims of her own. This also takes away key decision-making power from the school and myself, the building principal. So what is the best option to move forward? What I feel is the best and to provide an equitable and fair option is option 3, which would be to create an alternative learning option for the student to attain the biology credit. My rationale for moving forward with this option is that this is the best option as it fits two main objectives. First off, it's very important in this process to provide Miguel with an equitable education that is equal and unbiased in regards to the allegation of available educational resources at our school. Miguel would be able to continue his educational pathway with little distraction in high school, and it would still positively affect his post-secondary plans. Additionally, this would also fulfill the school's obligation to provide those things as mandated by federal statutes and laws. In consultation with this, district leadership and its own legal team I would communicate with to ensure that this pathway would for sure fulfill the obligations of the school in regards to federal mandates. I would also consult with Ms. Guzman to communicate this change and to notify her of the rationale for this decision coming from my end, to still support her, but to communicate why this change would be occurring. I would also have a follow-up meeting with the Hernandez family and, if needed, their legal representation. Now, how would I implement this decision? Again, communication on all fronts would need to occur with Miguel, his family, their legal representation, district leadership, as well as Ms. Guzman. But following the initial meeting with the Hernandez family, I would request a meeting directly with the superintendent to discuss what occurred, listen to their feedback and their input on what would be best. But I would provide the superintendent in this meeting with my selected path to move forward. With that, meetings would be set up with the remaining stakeholders involved to notify and to communicate changes and to make very clear what I want to occur. In this, I would also request another meeting with Miguel, his family, and also the biology teacher to discuss how to best serve Miguel given the new educational format to be put in place. This would be to ensure clear communication occurs and to ensure that the Hernandez family feels their needs have been met. It's really important with this decision to have all stakeholders on board with this process. Everyone might not be happy, but legal obligations have been followed. Equitable access to education would be created, and this would be the best path forward, as Miguel's other classes would not be affected. He would still be able to be an equal and open part of the schooling process at Nottingham High School, and he would still be able to achieve this biology credit within the infrastructure and school capacity that NHS has to offer. In this option, all obligations are fulfilled. Miguel's family can move forward knowing that he is receiving a quality education from Nottingham High School, and I, as the building principal, would be able to support that decision. Thank you so much for listening today to this presentation. Thank you very much.